Hello, folks. Can you hear me out there? If we can get all the students to please come up to your tables. And if everybody else can take a table, please. Thank you. So my name is Greg Stone. I'm the program director of the Volunteers of America Men's Residential Center. We are an alcohol and drug treatment program just right across the street here, which was the treatment program that Al Forthan came to in 1992. And for the first time in his life, chose a life of recovery. Um, I had the honor of hiring Al to work for us in 1996, and we're going to talk more about him later on and how the scholarship got started. But this is our 20th anniversary year of the scholarship, so it's very meaningful for me. And first, I'd like to welcome everybody, but especially our students and families. You know, all the folks in the room here are here to support you. They know, basically how important this scholarship is, both financially, but also just with the emotional support, what it does to help try and help young adults realize that there's a community here that believes in you, wants to support you as much as we can financially, and then really to have you be a part of the Al Forthan Recovery Scholarship community for the rest of your life. So as you graduate from college, we'll welcome you to become a scholarship judge, essay reader, and hopefully you can be a participant for the rest of your life. A few other folks I want to welcome is Marie Wacker, who is our CEO, and she'll be sharing a bit about the other Volunteers of America programs, and then also about introducing our keynote speaker tonight, former Representative Earl Blumenauer. So I had a connection through Earl through a very, very important woman, which we'll be talking about in a bit also, Austin Raglione. Austin worked for Earl for many years when he was in local government here. And we really appreciate you coming out tonight, Earl, and thanks so much for supporting the scholarship. I also want to recognize Carly Newberg, who was a 2015 recipient of the scholarship. Each year, we try and invite back a former recipient to share about where they are in their life now, how the scholarship supported them, and how hopefully you can help support the scholarship to help other kids get that same opportunity in the future. And last, I want to make a very special thank you. If we can have Tess come up. So Tess is one of the most impressive young people I've ever met in my life. She embellishes what the heart of the scholarship's about, just truly cares about the kids, has excellent organizational skills, just a wonderful human being. And fortunately for her, she's getting her master's in public health at a very prestigious university, Johns Hopkins. So she knows all about scholarships also. She'll be applying along with giving them out. But this is her 5th year working for us, and sadly her final one. But just much appreciation and gratitude to Tess. She's also my point person for the slides, so we got to give her a second to get back there for our next slide. Low tech people here. But this year, we actually have a record amount that we've given out to a record number of students, $126,000 to 84 students throughout the state of Oregon. So let's give us all a big round of applause for that. So you can see, as Tess told me, this is the last year we're going to get all of them on one slide, Greg, and that's pretty clear. But 20 years of scholarship awards, started out with $500 up to $126,000 this year, for a total of $1,226,000 given to 731 Oregon students. So So I talked a little bit about what the purpose of the scholarship is. It's basically to support young adults who come from families impacted by addiction, or they themselves are in recovery. And I was one of those kids who grew up in that kind of a family. So it always touches my heart to be able to give back to the kids who grew up that way also. It's very, very meaningful to me. Obviously, we know how expensive school is, and I wish I could give every kid as much money as possible. Obviously, the revenue is always a challenge to bring money in, but we do as much as we can to help each of you And it's my commitment to always continue to try and raise as much money as possible. We also want to promote awareness of youth addiction, inspire service work, and social and racial justice. Al was a person who was a Black man who knew what it was like to grow up in a society that discriminated against him. And actually, I forgot to acknowledge also his sponsor, who a wonderful human being, Herman Gowdy, who comes out every year to support the scholarship. So. And the final piece of the scholarship is to always remember and honors Al's amazing legacy of service to our community. So the next slide. So I'm a social worker, probably thought a bit about being a teacher, so I was trying to do a little bit of teaching in these times. And so who wants to be famous out there? Most people want to be famous, right? So our definition of fame, the state of being known or talked about by many people, especially on account of notable achievements. So many people want to be famous. We'll leave it at that. The not so good side of the other side of that is the definition of infamy, the state of being well known for some bad quality or deed. And so when we look at Al Forthan's life, next slide, please. So Al was a gentleman who grew up here in Portland, not too far from here, had a 25-year run as a major player in the drug crime community in Portland. If you're old school Portland, the first person, former police chief Charles Moose, the first person he arrested was Al Forthan. A little bit of fame there. Al was like I said, he very involved in the drug crime lifestyle, was a 25-year heroin addict, went to prison 9 times, got numerous treatment failures, came into our program in '92, said for the first time in his life, he felt like he was treated like a human being, which is extremely important to me. And said for the first time, he felt like he wasn't discriminated against by white folks, which again, is very, very important to me. You know, if Al would have died before he came into treatment and before 1992, he would have died in infamy. Not a good way to go out. But Al basically, for the next 14 years of his life, he came back in 96 as 95 as an intern through the Portland Community College Alcohol and Drug Counselor Program, became the first former client hired to work there in 1996, and then spent 10 years working with us. Just was an amazing, inspirational, loving, giving human being. And he gets to die as a famous human being because of his amazing commitment to service to our community, and he lives through the Al Forthan Scholarship. So, you know, for me, I love doing recovery work because you see that transformation that happens with people's lives and how they are able to give back to our community and be of service. So we have another famous person in the room tonight, and that's former U.S. Representative Earl Blumenauer. Earl's connection through the scholarship, like I said, is through Austin Raglione, which we'll talk about here in a second also. But Earl is so famous, it is a bridge named after him. 28 years in the U.S. House, and you know, that's why he's famous to many people. But what's important to us in the scholarship is what Earl has done to our community, done for our community. And so I was a bike commuter for many years, transferred to a walk commuter about 10 years ago. So I strongly believe 20 years bike commuter, 10 plus years now as a walk commuter. Earl was the champion in the U.S. House for bike commuting, has that little bike lapel and bow tie, another famous part of Earl. But a Portland native, has done so much for our community, so much for the accessible transportation, environmental policy, healthcare, and animal welfare. So a wonderful human being. And I think why I respect and why the scholarship respects is fame about giving back to our community, about service, which was what Al was about, what Earl is about. So thank you very much, Earl, for your service to our community. We have another famous person here, and that is Luke Jackson. So for those of you that are University of Oregon basketball fans or Cleveland Cavaliers or LeBron James, Luke is another native Oregonian. Graduated from University of Oregon in 2004, was the number 10 player in the first round draft by the Cavaliers that year, played with LeBron for a couple of years. And so obviously that makes him a famous person. Why Luke has fame to me and why I have so much respect for Luke. Luke has a phenomenal commitment to the scholarship. Just a man of heart, commitment to the kids. You know, he's truly believes in giving back, does a lot of prison ministry. He's a coach, a leader of young men, family man. and very, very devout Christian, and much respect and love for you, Luke. So 2 years ago, this amazing human being up here, Austin Raglione, who introduced Earl to us. Austin was a woman in recovery, and she spent a lot of time volunteering at our treatment center, did a lot of work supporting the scholarship. She knew a little bit over, she knew for several years she had cancer, but she knew a couple years ago that she was dying from that cancer. You know, as Steve Dean, who wrote an article about it, said, a lot of people would just roll it up, call it a day. For Austin, she spent the last year of her life working with me to create an endowment for the scholarship. You know, she was able to raise $250,000 by her hard work. You know, and it's like you couldn't think of a better way to be famous for what she's giving back to our community. So I just have so much love and appreciation for Austin. So 2 years ago, we started the Austin Raglione Spirit Award, and we're continuing that each year. And so this year's recipient is Luke Jackson, who's been, like I said, just a phenomenal supporter of the scholarship. So if you can come up, please, Luke. So we'll give Luke a few minutes to speak, and then.
Thank you, Greg. I think it was Jimmy Valvano that said, if you can laugh and cry, that's a full day. And every year I come up here and Greg moves me to tears because of his heart and his sincerity and his care. And it's just really humbling to be associated with you because you're famous for all the right reasons in my mind. So big thank you to Greg. And also to Pam and Marie as well, some great friends and people that do incredible things every day. I was drawn to the Al Forthan Scholarship just based on the story of redemption and how everyone's life matters and is so valuable, and how something can be so broken and turned around and used for something so good. And every year, I am so inspired and encouraged by the future of our youth and what you all have overcome, but also are going to achieve. And I know everyone asks you when you're graduating, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with your life? Like, and you get tired of hearing that, and you don't have to know right away. Just be good and be useful. And if you dream, dream big. And don't be scared if you have a big dream and someone doubts you or laughs. That's when you know your dream is worthy of a dream, is that some people are going to doubt you a little bit. And whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. Believe in yourself. All right, you've already achieved a lot. You're here, you've had the scholarship, but believe in yourself and dream big. And the future is very bright. And I can't wait to hear some of your stories. Thank you very much.
Well, this isn't going to work for me. He was okay. I just got to get it down. Can you hear me? Good evening, everyone. My name's Marie Wacker. I lead BOA Oregon, and I celebrated 1 year with this great organization just last month. And it's hard to believe all that has happened in that time frame. But what I can say today is what I said within the first week of joining the organization, which is, like Greg Stone, the individuals in this organization are tremendous human beings first, and they believe in the power of investing in people and investing their time, their talent, and in many cases, their money as well. And so I said that from the first day, and I can stand here today and say, I still feel the very same way. So Greg Stone, thank you. I also want to acknowledge Greg's team, who works really hard to do really good work day in and day out in the Men's Residential Treatment Center. And we have a lot to be thankful for by having your good leadership. So I just wanted to let you know that we're here, of course, tonight to celebrate resilience, courage, and hope. And I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the families, mentors, donors, and the community members who've supported these remarkable students on their journey. Each of you honored tonight has walked a path marked with extraordinary challenges. We know that. These hardships could have defined your story, but you chose a different path. You chose perseverance. You chose strength. You chose hope. Higher education is not just about earning your degree. It's about unlocking your potential, stepping into new possibilities, and changing the course of your life. You've taken your first steps, and you're going to take more. It offers you the tools to create a future free from the cycles of trauma and hardship you have already known in your very young life. You will meet new friends, teachers, and individuals who will have both short and long-term impacts on your life and your well-being. And your education will not only have impact on you, it will change the lives of your families, your communities, and the generations yet to come. At VOA Oregon, we believe deeply in the potential of every individual. We are committed to healing, hope, and opportunity, the very values embodied by each of you. Tonight, you are not only receiving scholarships, you are stepping into leadership for a brighter tomorrow. I want to leave you with this. Your past does not define you. Your courage does. We believe in you. We are proud of you. And we cannot wait, as Luke already said, to see the incredible ways you will shape this world. Congratulations to all of you, scholarship recipients. We are proud of you. At this point, I was going to introduce U.S. Congressman Earl Blumenauer. And Greg, thank you. You covered a lot of what I wanted to say. So I looked at my notes real briefly and thought, is there anything he didn't say about him? And so there's one thing that I think is important is that though Earl has served over 50 years in public service, think of that, 50 years in public service. That is an extraordinary commitment. Riding his bike as he served 28 years in Washington, D.C. to work every day. That's like crazy and amazing at the same time. And Greg, you noted his colorful bike lapels. So I suspect right now, not only is he serving as a senior fellow and special advisor at Portland State University, to Portland State University President Ann Cudd, he, I bet, is getting more time on the bike these days. He certainly has the opportunity to do that, but he still figured out how he's going to serve his community. So I want to thank you, Representative Blumenauer. And I believe with that, I'm ready to have you come up to the stage.
Whoa. I'm here tonight with my wife, who had some really great advice for me some years ago. Never wear a bow tie bigger than your head. I picked out this bow tie tonight for celebration. We are here to celebrate amazing achievement, support from the community, and celebrate what these outstanding young men and women are going to do for the community. Now, given the troubled state that we've got in the country, I kind of wince in the morning looking at the Times or listen to NPR. But one of the things that gives me strength and hope and optimism is what's happening on the ground with organizations like this. I never knew Al, but I knew Austin Raglione. And I know we must seize moments like this to celebrate success. I personally think that substance abuse and addiction is the #1 challenge that our country faces. And it's not a simple thing to unpack. You saw recently a criminal judgment against a big, powerful pharmaceutical company. We had people cutting corners. We have ruined, I would say, the lives of 1 million young men and women who got caught up in a counterproductive war on drugs without realizing the impact that that had. I've spent my entire career trying to change that dynamic, trying to work to make sure that we decriminalize, for example, marijuana. When I first started in this business, if you were a chronic late-stage alcoholic, you were a criminal. We locked you up. We had a drunk tank down here. Now, mercifully, attitudes have changed. We understand more of the dynamics. We know that it's actually an illness. We don't throw them in jail anymore. We do work in terms of having recovery and addiction services, but we've got a long way to go. And there isn't the sensitivity widely to support people. That's why I'm so excited about this program, the people we're going to recognize tonight. In a sense, we all need to be peer support. I don't know a family that doesn't have somebody in their midst that is struggling with some sort of substance abuse or addiction. It may not be as obvious in some cases. Some people cover it up. Some people have more resources, but it is an endemic. And I'm hopeful that we can continue on a path that we are working on now for treatment, for understanding, for strength and security. Austin showed that to me. She helped me in the last phase of my political career in Congress, and she was masterful at that. She was on my staff in City Hall with transportation and development problems. Later, she went back to City Hall, working for Mayor Potter, working on programs for people with substance abuse. She was a little woman with a huge heart. And she fought her demons and eventually overcame them. In fact, for the last 8 years of her life, she was battling cancer. It slowed her down, but it didn't stop her. And she continued with this program here to try and garner support, encouragement, and reaching out to people who could learn from her example, her strength, her character. It is an honor for me to be here tonight to help you celebrate the program that made so much to her. I must confess, as I was preparing for this, I realized that I hadn't given lately. I checked with the powers that be, and they said it was okay to remind you that you could contribute if you wanted. No amount is too small, but I'm also told that no amount is too big. Rest assured, these people will put it to good use. I deeply appreciate your being here, honoring Al, Austin, the program, the staff, and most of all, the people who are making the success of this program and proving through their success why it is important for us to all be involved. Thank you for being here. Thank you for honoring the memory of Al and Austin. And remember that we all have an opportunity in this journey to help those, whether we can see the problems and vacant eyes on the street, or people we can't see behind closed doors. But we're all in this together, and this is an opportunity for us to unite and make a difference. Thank you for being here and making a difference.
Hello, I'm Ashton Duff. I'm one of the students who got given the opportunity to, I guess, be rewarded with the Al Forthan Scholarship. I just like to thank everybody who came and everybody who's involved with this foundation for giving me and the other students this opportunity. Sorry, thank you. Since about, I guess, 8th grade for me, I took my first drink of alcohol, a couple drinks actually, and I never thought much of it. It was a mistake, and I never, took a while for me to get back into it. But when I started going to high school, I was introduced to, like, I guess, a lot more easily accessible substances, such as, like, I already said alcohol, but like marijuana and stuff, and other just party drugs. But till about my sophomore year in high school, I realized that my partying and having fun became a problem. And on June 28th of 2024, I got sober, and I'm still sober to this day. Thank you all so much. Yeah, the journey was hard from start to, I guess, present. Every day is a struggle, but I also noticed that everything is just easier. I guess still stressful, but could be better, could be worse. I believe that this scholarship will help me a lot through my future and schooling and just where I want to go. I'd really like to be a professional skateboarder. If this, you can't tell by the hat and kind of attitude I have. That's just my dream, which I'd like to follow, but I'm also an artist. I like to do murals and just kind of sketch around in my free time. I've always thought about working on cartoons and stuff. So I plan on going to PCC for a couple years to just kind of get the graphic design and just normal art essentials down, and hopefully go to PNCA over in downtown to kind of figure out where I want to go from there. Still not exactly sure as where I want to go, but we'll get there one way or another. I'd just like to thank everybody one more time for coming out and supporting me, and everybody. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Reyes Contreras, and I'm a senior at Roosevelt High School. I'm honored to be standing up here today to give you a small glimpse of my story, how my experiences with drug addiction in my family has shaped me into the strong and confident young lady I am today. To start off, my relationship with my mom has always felt like a push and pull relationship. Growing up, my mom was my best friend. For as long as I can remember, my mom always expressed every emotion she ever felt to me. I was her therapist. When I say everything, I mean everything from guys being jerks to struggling to keep a roof over her head to her complicated family dynamics to so much more. I was my mom's baby kangaroo, always helping her wherever she was at. This meant whenever my mom went to hang out with friends, I was right there with her. When my mom had boyfriends, I made sure to sleep right next to her because I knew if I did it, they wouldn't get the best night's sleep. So, in my way, I was trying to help them get some good rest, right? Because everybody needs to sleep well. As my mom did the best she could to protect me, I did my best to protect her. And I may or may not have cussed out some of her boyfriends at one point when I started seeing them talking to her sideways, because in my little heart, I was the only person that could talk to her in that way. As my conscience started to develop, I started to notice our life was different from the other kids at my school. For me, it felt like half of my free time would be spent on the bus and Max, and the early mornings and late nights through the beaming sun and the hard rain. When I would come home from school, I felt trapped, having to stay in the rented rooms my mom would pay for. At one point, the only place we had to live in was a cold, mold-infested shed. I would compare myself to my friends, always feeling different because I didn't have a home I could say I grew up in. There was always a lingering feeling of sadness that stayed with me, not only in my childhood, but throughout my teenagehood. Fifth grade is the year I stopped living with my mom. One of my dreams growing up was to live with my grandma because of the stability she had for herself. When I moved in with my grandma, I quickly realized why my mom didn't like my grandma. I was living in the body that my mom grew up in, a house of mental abuse, favoritism, and many responsibilities, especially because I was the only girl in a Hispanic household. My relationship with my mom shifted when I moved in with my grandma. I soon realized I was embarrassed of my mom. For 6 to 8 months, I did not see my mom. While she'd been away, I'd spent those months internalizing, sorry guys, all the mental abuse given in my new home. The first day of quarantine online school was the first time I saw my mom after months of not seeing her. Her hair was shaved off. She'd lost over 30 pounds. Her skin and bones were weak. She'd been bruised all over her body, and there was a lingering feeling of BO. And she continuously repeated how she could hear burn in her head. All I could do was cry. For 3 hours, I cried and cried and cried. I couldn't help ask myself, how could they do this to my mom? Could I have saved her if I was with her in those moments? Was this my fault? Looking at her in the eyes while crying, I realized I was not crying to my mom. Physically, she was there, but mentally, she died that day. Throughout quarantine, her addiction took a toll on her and our family. She became aggressive. She would come and go as she pleased between our house to the streets of North Portland. More than half of the days of the week, when we would see her, she would bang on the windows, trying to see me, saying, "Where is my daughter? I need to see my daughter. You better not be hurting her in there." Although she wanted to see me and have a relationship with me during her addiction, she always broke her promise, becoming sober. When we didn't hear from her, we would look for her in the streets of Portland and make sure she hadn't passed away. This pattern lasted all the years I lived with my grandma. While witnessing my mom's drug addiction worsen, in my time at school, I was fortunate to find people in my community to lean on. Coaches, community members, and school staff stepped in to give me the stability and care that I did not receive at home. My mom's drug addiction, alongside the dysfunction of my family, have not defined me. They've only motivated me to pursue higher education, to work for a future where I can contribute positively to the lives of others, while also creating stability and opportunity for myself. With the incredible blessing of receiving the Forthan Scholarship, I'm proud to say that I will be pursuing a public policy major that would be fully paid for at Barnard College of Columbia University in New York City. For me, I know higher education is only the first step of accomplishing the goals I've had my whole life. Overcoming my childhood struggles has allowed me to focus on building a brighter future, one that younger me would have never thought possible. As Tupac Shakur said, I am the rose that grew from concrete. Despite the obstacles I have faced, I am determined to grow, succeed, and create a better life for myself. I thank every donor that is here today that's helped give students like me an opportunity to break the cycle. And also, thank you for all the work you guys are doing for addiction and recoveries so other families don't have to have these experiences. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Move this up a little bit. I'd like to begin with a sincere thank you. Thank you for being here tonight, not just for me, but for all the recipients. Opportunities like this truly change lives, and I'm incredibly grateful to be one of them as I stand before you today. My name is Sierra Rowden, and I'm honored to be a recipient of the Al Forthan Scholarship this year. I'm currently a senior at Park Rose High School, and I'm also proud to represent Portland, Oregon's Rose Festival as a 2026 Rose Festival Princess. Over the past Over the past few years, I've dedicated myself to my community through hundreds of volunteer hours. I've served as president of my school's Key Club and Black Student Union, and I'm acting as vice president for 2 youth HEV champion chapters while participating in 6 other clubs. You might ask why. The answer is pretty simple. I love my community. That love didn't come from things being easy. It came from learning, growing, and sometimes feeling uncomfortable. I once came up with the saying I try to live by: if life were a soup pot, every experience we learn is an ingredient. Every experience, good or bad, adds a new ingredient, a new flavor. And sometimes we don't realize what those experiences are teaching us until much later. For me, one of those opportunities was this scholarship. At my school, we're fortunate enough to have opportunities posted for students to see. Their scholarships, internships, or overall pathways to set up our futures. And somehow, this scholarship found its way to me. When I first saw it, I had 2 thoughts. Ooh, scholarship. And then, oh, scholarship. Let me explain the first part. There are things you notice as a kid that you don't understand until you're older. Utility shut-off notices, overdue bills on the kitchen table, transportation troubles, calls for assistance, and putting food on the table were conversations spoken in hushed voices that came along with paying for school supplies, fees, and registrations. I learned early on that money is a privileged rarity, not a guarantee. From the days with no lights to the days of living with relatives, couch surfing, my mom's done everything in her power to raise 3 children off a one-parent, disability-riddled income. For years, I've seen opportunities like sports and glittery notebooks that I wanted to try and buy, yet years pass and I'm using half-used hand-me-down notebooks and hearing school sport games from friends who paid to go. Education's all right, but higher education is a dream if you lack the funds. Higher education is a dream that'll never be a reality without the help of scholarships. As someone who can't even pay for a cap and gown, the thought of books and tuition strikes fear through my core. And with private loans, I'd be riddled with debt that'll live beyond me before my frontal lobe even fully develops. Without scholarships, I'm unable to go to college, but scholarships like the Forthan Scholarship allow me a chance. It allows students like me with upward paths to step into bright futures, for diamonds in the rough to become polished and humble. This scholarship allows me to breathe, to be able to take opportunities and see my dreams come to fruition. It allows me to be a student who just wants to learn. So yeah, woo, scholarship. But if I'm being honest, that didn't make applying easy. To be completely honest with you, I was embarrassed at first. As a senior, we all know how that goes. Every question that gets asked that year: what colleges did you apply to? What scholarships did you win? What college are you actually going to? Whenever someone asked me what scholarships I was applying to, I gave them a vague answer because I was still struggling with whether or not I was ready to share my story. I mean, how do you tell someone your why? How do you say, I'm here because of hardship? How do you say I'm here because my family has faced challenges that aren't easy to talk about? Do you know how concerned someone would look? How many questions they'd ask? In case you don't remember, high school teens can be really judgmental. And I don't want anyone to look at me differently or start spreading rumors. So it's that very thing, however, that made me realize my story, applying for the scholarship, isn't something to hide. My experiences are something that shaped me, and applying to the scholarship is something to be proud of. Because it meant I was taking a step forward. It meant that I didn't let my past define me because I believe in my future. Looking back on that short time ago, I realized there's a huge stigma around asking for help with these experiences or even feeling comfortable to put yourself out there. We treat topics like addiction as if they're taboo, forbidden, that they should be conversed in hushed whispers behind doors. But I disagree. Everyone faces addiction in different degrees, and these are the conversations we should be having, the growth we as a society should ensue. Because while these conversations can be uncomfortable, growth doesn't happen when we stay comfortable. Growth happens when we push past the fear of what others might think. It happens when we take chances on ourselves and when we take chances on others. And that's what the scholarship represents to me. It represents something more than financial support. It represents encouragement. It represents that no matter the difficulties I encountered with the person I love, that those experiences don't define me. As I look ahead to the future, I carry that lesson with me. Every experience, every challenge, every moment of doubt, every risk, every tear shed, and every memory I would rather forget shapes who I'm becoming. Sorry, guys. I'm becoming a scholar, someone who intends to major in biology, attending UC San Diego, or hopefully NYU. I'm becoming a young woman who will cross financial barriers to become a doctor that'll change the world for her patients. As you look ahead to the future, tonight, I leave you with this. Do not ever let fear or stigma stop you from pursuing opportunities. Never let the opinions of others define your path. You stay true to yourself, your morals, and believe what your gut is telling you. Never underestimate the power of your own growth. Because if I let those negative thoughts win, if I let people judge me on my loved one's account, I wouldn't be here in front of you today right now. Because one day you'll look back and realize that every single ingredient, Every experience helps create something meaningful. You all created something meaningful here today for all the students like me. Because all of you, my future is possible. Thank you again for this incredible honor, and thank you all for being part of my journey. Good night, everyone.
Sorry. Thank you so much for those speeches. There is no way at your age I could get up in front of people and deliver words so eloquently. And I know your futures are bright. Nice job. At this time, I'd like to announce first virtually some of our scholarship winners. And I apologize in advance if I do mispronounce any of your names because there's a few of them that they're tough. Okay, be honest. Starting off with Violet Bickford. Maya Clark. Sophia Corso. Kaylin Danielson. Kennedy Davis Gragg. Sophie Eggleston. Christian Fields. Maddie Harris. Brooklyn Latcha. Natalie Lawson. Annie Rose Miller. Dawson Oberson. Nay Peck. Modi Scaletti. Brandon Toby. Am I going too fast? Okay, apologize. Maeve Wilcox. Acacia Wilson. And that's just the virtual right now. It's pretty incredible starting off with $500 to now, and what this scholarship has actually been able to achieve. It is so impressive. At this time, I would like to announce the in-person, and please come up on stage. I'm going to hand you a certificate, and then please remain on stage so we can take a picture. Okay, that would be perfect. Okay. Skylar Arviso, come on up.
My name is Skylar Arviso, and I'm going to Lane Community College.
Ashton Duff.
I'm Ashton. I'm going to PCC and then figure out from there.
Trinity Ebert.
Thank you. My name's Trinity Ebert, and I'm going to Mount Hood Community College, transferring to OIT.
Kaylin Ferrari.
My name's Keelan Ferrari, and I'm going to Grand Canyon University.
Jacqueline Gutierrez Bonilla.
My name is Jacqueline, and I'm going to Tillamook Bay Community College.
Trinity Harding Johnson.
My name is Trinity, and I'm going to Portland Community College.
Christian Wan.
My name is Christian, and I'm going to Oregon State University.
Ayana Little Eagle.
Hi, my name is Ayana Little Eagle, and I'm going to Portland Community College.
Colin Long.
My name's Colin, and I'm going to U of O.
Jose Morera Bielo.
I am Jose. I'm going to go to Oregon State University.
Jasmine Reyes Contreras.
Hi, I'm Jasmine, and I'm going to Barnard College of Columbia University.
Sierra Rowden.
Hi, I'm Sierra. I haven't 100% decided yet, but it'll either be UC Davis or UC San Diego.
And last but not least, Dania Zaragoza.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Danya Zaragoza, and I will be going to Western Oregon University.
And with that, we have this year's recipients. Let's give them another round of applause, you guys. And let's kind of bring it in a little bit, and let's take a picture in front of this. No? Congratulations, everyone. At this time, we are going to queue up a little video that explains just a little bit more about VOA and the Al Forthan Scholarship.
Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Jordan Kent, and I'm here to tell you about the story of a very special man, Al Forthan, and the Memorial Scholarship Fund that was set up in his name that will help the lives of the next generation. And Al's story begins here at the Volunteers of America building, Men's Residential Center in Portland, Oregon, where Al, like so many of the men that come through the doors here, are given a second chance to better their lives.
My name is Greg Stone, and my role here at VOA is I'm the program director of the Volunteers of America Men's Residential Center. So Volunteers of America is a nonprofit that's been around since 1896, so a little bit over 125 years now. And I've been working for them for 31 years. I had the honor and privilege of starting the Men's Residential Center back in 1990. We do everything from youth programs with childcare up to senior adult daycare programs. The program that I work with, we are a large residential alcohol and drug treatment program. We're funded and licensed through the state of Oregon, and we serve men who come out of the criminal justice system. So Al Forthan was a gentleman who grew up here in Northeast Portland. He was actually born in Vanport, and when it flooded, his family moved in over by Concordia University, and he basically went to Jeff, was a 1963 graduate, and was big into sports, but also, like, you know, many people who grew up in the neighborhood got involved in the lifestyle of drugs and crime. So Al spent about 25 years in that lifestyle, and he was, you know, one of those people that had a lot of charisma, a lot of charm, and was pretty good at that lifestyle of being in the game. He spent that 25 years as a heroin addict, major, you know, supplier of drugs and trafficking. And when he got clean, though, came into our program. We actually moved in here. We were in a temporary location while we went through conditional use, moved here on April 30th, 1992. And Al had actually come into our program a week earlier. So he basically came back to his neighborhood that he grew up in and got clean after many other treatment failures and got clean for the first time in his life. And Al said, you know, basically this program, you know, you really credited it with his ability to change his life. And he said, you know, it was the first time in my life where I felt like I was treated like a human being and that people cared about me. It was the first client that I hired to work here in 1996. And he spent 10 years working with us and just was an amazing counselor, just had a heart of gold, tremendous love and passion to help people in recovery. You know, he just had this wonderful ability to connect with people. And the men just had, you know, tremendous respect for him. You know, obviously a person that had been there, you know, he was 9 times in prison and, you know, had transformed his life. And just his passion and commitment to help people was, you know, just, oh, it was a wonderful gift that he gave to people. He struggled with COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, and had real struggle breathing toward the end of his life. But he had this passion to keep working, and basically, you know, we had those big set of stairs. You have to get up to all the offices were up here on the 2nd floor. He would carry his breathing machine up the stairs. You know, he was committed till the end. And 3 days before he passed away, he was doing a 12-step meeting on his deathbed. You know, and it's like, what a testament, you know, just of his love and commitment to help people choose recovery. You know, and so I just had a deep love and respect for who he was, you know, just a wonderful man. And obviously get emotional about it, but so he passed away in 2006, but he had 14 years clean time. And I had the honor of speaking at his service. And yeah, I said basically he was the Michael Jordan of recovery. You know, it just touched so many people's lives, such a deep and profound way. You know, it's just a true gift to be a part of that, of, you know, being a small part of his journey.
Jesus washed away my troubles while I'm traveling here below.
Well, we're here in Greg's office, and you saw just the compassion and care that Greg has for his fellow man, and his relationship and friendship with Al was something that was really special. And when you think back on the way that they're looking to honor Al with this memorial scholarship, it's incredible to just see the difference it's made in the lives of others. So we're going to take an opportunity to hear from a handful of these scholarship recipients that have had to work so hard on their own just to overcome some adversity, a hand that they were dealt that they didn't get a chance to choose. And now with the aid of this scholarship, just that little bit of help, the difference it makes in their lives, the doors that it has opened. And when you see the lasting impact of Al Forthan and what he set forward with his way to help his fellow man, you'll see the huge and tremendous difference this scholarship can make in the lives of others.
Hi, my name is Samantha, and I am a nurse at OHSU Dornbecker. I always wanted to go to college. It's always been a goal of mine. I always wanted to play soccer in college, and so I always knew that to afford college, I was going to have to work my way towards a scholarship. Actually, it was pretty therapeutic to be able to write everything out and go through this process. And I think some of the questions were about the history with my dad and his alcohol abuse and some of my other family members. So I just went into those stories and talked a little bit about my childhood growing up. So I say therapeutic because I think having an opportunity to share your story when it's something you've kept to yourself for most of your life, or that, being involved in so many things in high school, I didn't share that side of me, and my struggle with some of those things with my family and how that impacted my home life. So it was therapeutic to be able to write that all out and then to meet other people through the process who were coming from similar situations or struggled with those things themselves. And so it just was really eye-opening to meet new people and identify with those people in a way that I didn't with some of my other close friends. And then once I realized that I won and that my dreams were gonna come true, and I was definitely on path to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve, that just gave me confidence. It gave me reassurance that I can do whatever I want to do with my life. It was just really also inspiring.
My name's Casey Ragianti. I'm a global product manager at Adidas. Grew up in Portland, and I'm very thankful and blessed to still be here. So I was couch surfing at the time with a neighbor and just getting acclimated to that lifestyle. And now I'm thinking about what's next. What am I going to do? Figured college was the best opportunity for me. I felt like it was my only chance because of how I was raised, how I grew up. Drugs, alcohol. Parents were somewhat emotionally and physically abusive, and I just felt deep down that without college, I'd end up not necessarily in the same paths. I didn't want to end up like my family. I wanted to be different, but I also wanted to be proud of my life and make a difference and do more than just what my parents did growing up. For me, growing up, it was always like, I'm just like everybody else. I never really shared my story because I didn't feel like it was different from other kids at school. I always felt like everybody's dealing with these types of problems. And, finding help and assistance through mentors growing up, you start to realize that the way you grew up wasn't normal. It was vastly different from a lot of other people. So for me, is that turning point of getting kicked out of the house, finding some mentors, confiding in them, and then just learning that your story should be told, embrace it. And then there's people out there like the Al Forthan Scholarship that will help make your dreams a reality and assist you because they know and support those that have struggled growing up. It came down to instilling confidence in me, validating my story, believing in me, which growing up in a drug and alcohol abused home, I didn't have a lot of that. And to hear you won and we believe in you, here's your chance to go to college was extremely impactful. And it's something that I think about, especially life is hard. I deal with a lot of challenges, but I can't forget how blessed I am and the ability that the scholarship's given me going forward to keep trying to do better and make a difference where I can.
Okay, my name is Venicia. I attend Portland State University full-time, and I'm studying pre-med, majoring in psychology, minoring in business, and I have a job full-time too. If I didn't have a scholarship, I for sure wouldn't think I could go to college because of the way my life was just set up at the time. I've always been working full-time like my whole life, and it started in high school. As soon as I was eligible to get a job, I was just working too much, so I couldn't show my high school academics that I was able to go to college. But Al Forthan was willing to hear a story that got me accepted to college. You know, like they gave me the money to go because other schools wasn't gonna really pay for it. Because, you know, when you're working full time all the time, you have to make up that money that, you know, you don't have. But when Al Forthan gives you that money, you can take time off and just really focus on academics, because what people fail to realize is that school is a full-time job. So to work 2 full-time jobs in high school was, you know, it's kind of insane. I honestly would not be in this position without the Al Forthan Scholarship, because it was really the money. Like, college is all about money. Like, you can't go to college without money at all. So no, I wouldn't have, because then I wouldn't have somebody, you know, to help me pay for my way to get in. Now that I'm in, I figured it out and I made excellent grades. It's way up there, you know, like it just really helps you get there. And if I never had the Al Forthan Scholarship, I wouldn't have gotten there in the first place because I would have been working full time.
Well, those are just some incredible stories and just a small sampling of the number of lives that have been changed because of the Al Forthan Memorial Scholarship. And now it's your opportunity to make a difference. We heard from Greg earlier the difference this scholarship fund has made since 2006. But now collectively we can come together and better more lives and give more of these young men and women a fair chance to open up doors in their lives. They've already had to overcome so much at such a young age, and you see just the incredible fortitude of these young individuals. The least we can do is to continue to give them a hand. So please check out the website below. You'll find more information on how you can donate. And let's continue to carry on the legacy that Al Forthan set forward of helping his fellow man. And we can all play a big role if we just play a small little part.
And the neglect that I experienced daily while in his care. It had interfered with my ability to focus, to breathe, and to be the kid that I never really got to be. I was forced to grow up long before I was an adult because the adults in my life had shown me that I could not count on them. I spent the greater part of my youth caring for myself and making sure I had what I needed while my dad threw back whiskeys like they were water. I cannot recall a single event attended without a drink in his hand, yet I could never forget all of the important memories and moments he missed because of those drinks in his hand. He bought a bar soon after my parents divorced when I was 8 years old, and I think he grew to recognize more people in it than he did his own children. While he serial dated and drank his way through town, I ate cereal for dinner and stared out the window wondering when he'd be home. At this same time, my mother was battling a methamphetamine addiction and was absent from my life. You can imagine the feelings that this brought up as a child, feelings of abandonment, unworthiness, loneliness. I felt forgotten and left behind, feelings I've had to work hard to heal from and ones that still follow me today. The older I got, the more I realized how unfit my father was to care for me. And the more we fought, the more I searched for ways to leave. Eventually, I found a lawyer to represent me pro bono and to help me build a case worthy of the courtroom. It was a long, painful, and grueling fight, but one that eventually ended with my grandparents being granted guardianship over me. After being placed in a healthy and stable environment with my grandparents, I could finally think about my future. That's when I started applying for as many scholarships as I possibly could. Anything I qualified for, and some I didn't even qualify for because I was desperate to carve myself a future different than the one that both my parents had shown me. Unlike many of my peers, college was not expected of me, and it was really never even a part of the conversation. And I knew that if I wanted to go, it would have to be in the same fashion as many other things in my life, on my own. But I was determined, and I did it. In 2019, I graduated Portland State University with a degree in applied health and fitness and communications. During my undergraduate years, I experienced some of my favorite and most impactful memories, like traveling overseas for the first time and studying abroad in the northern tropics of Australia for 6 months, leading a community of individuals in my church weekly as we shared a meal, laughed, prayed, and encouraged one another, and wandering around a city much larger than the one I am from, while being introduced to different cultures, ideas, politics, and of course, food. It's true that none of these memories could exist without those who also instilled belief in me, like the team here at Volunteers of America, as well as all of the donors and other supporters. Just by reading the Al Forthan Scholarship description, I remember feeling so seen, and then to actually be awarded the scholarship is truly a moment that I will never forget. It felt like maybe there was a place I belonged, and maybe there was hope for kids like me. I'm a first-generation college student, which I feel proud to say. But what I'm even more proud of is surviving the adversity I faced from addiction as a child and also now as an adult. Because although I wish I could say that my interactions with addiction stopped after both my parents, I'd be lying. It's hard to tread down fresh territory when all you've ever been shown is one path. So during college and after college, I found myself in troublesome relationships with alcoholics whose behaviors mimicked those of my father. And recently, I found out that the person I said yes to marrying isn't who I thought he was. In August, I opened my own yoga studio in Baker City, Oregon. And a month later, my now ex-fiance told me he had been struggling with a methamphetamine addiction our entire relationship, nearly 5 years. I had no idea, sorry, and some people made me feel ashamed of that. Here I was thinking I had built a life far removed from the one I came from, the one that I had worked like hell to escape. The addictions that overran both my parents and the one that still consumes my father today. There's no questioning alcoholism when you've traded coffee for whiskey, when it's 8 a.m., and you're wondering how many more times you'll have to hear the same story through slurred words and flushed cheeks. So yes, my father's addiction harmed me, but he's not the only one. Even the person I devoted time to building a life with turned out to be a repetition of old wounds. And I didn't leave because the addiction scared me. When you face something your entire life, you learn not to fear its shadows. I left because there comes a point when love no longer is enough to justify being mistreated, to have your boundaries ignored, and to lose yourself trying to save someone else. Because as much as you love and care for someone, you cannot choose recovery for them. I've told this story of my father countless times, including inside a memoir I wrote and published when I was 24 years old. And now it seems I have all the content I need for many other books. Because if there's one thing that I've learned as an Al Forthan Scholarship recipient, it's that there's strength in numbers and strength to come from telling your story, whatever your story is. It's both an unfortunate and fortunate reality, knowing that I'm not the only one who has been affected by the throes of addiction, On the battlefield are many others standing beside me whose lives have been altered by similar hardships. Events like tonight are testament to that truth. The Al Forthan Scholarship showed me that addiction isn't something we have to be quiet about or suffer silently in. No matter what you're fighting, there's hope on the other side, and there's help waiting to pull you in. Because although this world can be cruel, we are not meant to survive it alone. Healing happens in community, and change happens when people choose to show up for themselves and for others. The Al Forthan Scholarship is proof of that. It reminds us that even in the hardest chapters of our lives, there can still be people willing to stand beside us, believe in us, and help carry us forward. I know that because I'm standing here as proof of it today. I'm a yoga teacher with a chronic illness, which most people would never know just by looking at me. But my yoga practice has taught me a really important lesson about accepting help. In yoga, we use props to support us in different poses to receive the benefits of that pose without strain or injury. And over the years, I've had to learn to adapt my yoga practice to meet my body's needs. I've done this by reaching for props as needed. And an older version of me would have seen this as a weakness because she was used to doing things alone. But this current version of me has never felt more confident in saying that asking for help and accepting that you need help is one of the greatest acts of strength. Today, I stand here proud as a full-time yoga teacher, yoga studio owner, photographer, and writer for various online publications for whom I write personal narratives. I have built this life and business not in isolation, but with both the financial support and the sense of community that opportunities like the Al Forthan Scholarship provide. Which is why I would say that if you have the means and are able to please consider a donation to the scholarship fund. Big or small, every contribution works toward creating opportunity and hope for someone trying to build a life beyond the hardships they were handed. At the end of the day, this scholarship really is about so much more than just money. It's camaraderie, it's belonging, and it's a family to call on and to lean on, which is really important for those who haven't always had that. I'd like to end by speaking to this year's scholarship recipients and saying first that it's not an accident that you ended up here or that you've been selected as one of the few to be given support this year. And secondly, it's my hope that you continue to find the courage required to admit when you need help, because there are people out there willing to provide it, and you'll be even more resilient for accepting and remembering that you are deserving of it. So keep exploring your resources, keep advocating for yourself, and keep telling your story because it matters. And to everyone here tonight, thank you for your generosity, thank you for your compassion, and thank you for your willingness to invest in lives like mine. Thank you for being here, thank you for supporting this mission, and thank you for helping make nights like this possible. Have a wonderful evening and safe travels home. Thank you.
Wow, Carly, thank you so much. That was inspiring and incredible and so powerful. Thank you. At this time, this concludes this evening's ceremony. I would like to invite, before you leave, all of the scholarship recipients to take a photo over in the back corner. Thank you so much for your support. And good luck to all of the scholarship winners. I know you're going to go on to do amazing things. And thank you for attending tonight. What? And we'd also like to invite the families to take the flower arrangement on the center of the table. Thank you. Have a great night.